I was literally in a bar in London and was talking to a guy, and he said that he'd heard that there was a group of people getting together, a beauty competition in Libya. And I thought, well, that sounds jolly interesting, because there had been, the embargo, and nobody had been into Libya in, I think, 19 years or something. And so he gave me contacts. I got in contact with them, and I literally slept on my friend's couch in London for 2 months waiting for it to happen. We never actually got any stamps on our passports for arriving into Libya, but we did. We were on a private jet in there with other journalists and other beauty other women that were competing in the beauty competition, and then we all met there and had this crazy couple of weeks in Libya, where we met Colonel Gaddafi, and I got to do an interview with him, but the wonderful thing about documentary is you can start with an idea, but because it's real life, you can never predict what will happen. And so the story started to reveal itself, that in actual fact it wasn't just this kooky beauty competition, but it was this unlikely relationship between the American contestant and Colonel Gaddafi, and that was what the film sort of followed. Hanging out with a bunch of beauty queens made me realise that I have no fears at all. I mean, they were frightened of swimming in the hotel pool. They thought that it would be poisoned. The Austrian contestant, one night she tried to run away to the embassy. I mean, I didn't feel any fear at all, because I've been in conflict zones before and I've been in tricky situations, and I didn't feel that was the case in Libya. We were there under the invitation of Colonel Gaddafi. I felt pretty secure that we would be fine. So that was all just part of the wonderful scenes that we got, their paranoia and their lack of understanding, really. I mean, the American contestant, she was a wonderful young woman, but, just had never been outside of the US, so didn't even really have an understanding of Libya, its history, or actually that it was in North Africa. So, my concerns, whatever they were minimal to what we were witnessing, they were going through, so I was like, oh, we're fine here. The Outstanding Sudanese Twins was a really difficult film to make, but wonderful. I love being in challenging situations and in developing countries. But it was very difficult because of Vanessa's incredible focus on what she thought was right and wrong for the twins that she wanted to adopt, for her marriage and for her art. She didn't let anything stop her. And I'm supposed to be an observer of that, so I can't stop her either. And we just had to film. And so there were some situations where I said to Jake, we've got to just walk away. I can't be in this room at this moment. This is not safe for you and it's not safe for me. So we literally did walk away in a few situations. But also I knew that even, the really crucial scene where the women come to take the babies back in the church, that's also about hearing their side of things as well, and they deserve to be heard too. That if I had done a film that was only Vanessa's side of things, then that would be not a truth. And so, in that situation, they thought we were part of her team, and I had to just grin and bear that. But I knew that it was right to capture their reaction to her, and and get that side of the story. Yeah, Vanessa was a really trying person, but I still am very, very fond of her. And I saw her recently, and she does amazing work, and I admire her immensely. And who knows, maybe I'll do another film with her. I had heard that when you're in 15, 16, that subconsciously, this is the time when you start to form your political views and ideas. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. And then when I heard about Ngāro Wera, Pumanawa-Whiti, who is the subject of my film, Māori Boy Genius, I thought, well, maybe I can explore that idea through his story. The thing about Māori Boy Genius is, to be honest, I don't think it's my strongest film. I don't think it's my best work because it was a New Zealand film, and I felt a bit constrained by the familiarity and the parochialism of is that the right word, of our country, and that if I was critical or if I hedged the film in a particular way, that would come back to me. And so I think I was a little soft on it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it makes me a bit reticent to do another film here. Somebody said to me, there's this place where all the films of Afghanistan are stored, but nobody knows what's in there. It's a bunch of sheds. It's kind of mythical. You won't get access. It's run by, because Afghanistan's the most corrupt place in the world, right? Everything's corrupt. So this one person said to me, you'll have to have $10,000, to even get in the door. Afghans don't even know what's in there. And I was like, right, this is a challenge. So off I set one day across Kabul. By the time I got to the archive, I was so determined because it had taken me such a long time. And it is on what they say is the most heavily guarded place in the world. It's between the American embassy, the ISAF headquarters, there's the Italian embassy, the Dutch embassy. So I got there and the guards at the gate came out with the guns, you can't be here, blah, blah, blah. And I was, just pushed and pushed and said, I've come all the way from New Zealand, all that kind of rubbish. And then another person came out and said, no, you can't come in. And then another person, and it was pretty clear I wasn't going anywhere. So eventually somebody came out and said, all right, come in and meet the new director. And as luck would have it, this new guy had just recently been brought back from exile in Europe, where he'd been since the Taliban, and to sort of save these films. And he said to me, let's discover them together. And so I just started filming and filmed off and on for 2.5 years. And so it was just this sort of journey of discovery. And it was really about the lives of the 3 men who'd risked so much to save these films and the importance that they felt was in these films. It is about Gualpei, who is the designer of the gold cape that Rihanna wore on the Met Ball red carpet in New York earlier this year. She didn't even know who Rihanna was when she was approached to provide something for this Met Ball, which the theme was China Through the Looking Glass. So obviously Rihanna's management, or herself, I'm not sure, started to explore, well, who's going to provide something that reflects that. She got contacted by Rihanna and her management, didn't know who she was, took a bunch of frocks over to New York, but really sort of thought, well, I'm not sure that I will let this person wear just anything. They have to have the right soul. But she met Rihanna and she put on the cape and she saw that she had the soul to carry it. And what neither of them really understood was how big that launch was going to be. It got Rihanna on the cover of many magazines and front page New York Times, and it got people sort of going, who is this designer? And so Gualpei is using that launch to now launch internationally. And she's trying to get into what is arguably one of the most exclusive clubs in the world, the Haute Couture Council of Paris. So, it's largely European men, and you have to be invited into that. But it requires all these things, all these boxes you have to tick. So we're following her going through that process so that she can be admitted. But she's a wonderful character. She's really delightful. She's really kooky. And it's crazy to think I'm now launching into another film where I don't understand the language of my main subject. I've done this numerous times, and my mother says, why can't you find the person next door interesting here in Auckland? But I don't. So I'm telling a story where my main character doesn't speak any English and I don't speak any Chinese. But we have wonderful access, and Gualpei and her husband Jack, who's also her business manager, have allowed us into their lives. And so for me, the importance is to maintain that intimacy beyond culture and beyond language. So it's just Jake and I. We don't have a translator with us. We don't have a sound person. We keep very low profile, and we just hang out with Gualpei and Jack wherever they're going in the world. And so that for me is the big challenge, is to make sure that I keep that intimacy while I don't understand anything of what they're saying at the time.